Thank goodness for Ayds. Hello everybody, welcome to the Business Blaze, also known as Business Blaze. I am your boy with the blaze, and also this red solo cup. The last video I recorded, I had an Enron mug, and then from Amazon, someone sent me from America these red solo cups. And I'm really sorry whoever sent these to me, because I have an extraordinarily full email inbox. And I tried finding the person who sent it to me to say thank you for sending these to me because they finally arrived, and I can't find your email. So please email me so I can thank you, which is absurd. Consider this me thanking you, because not only did you send me just one of these, you apparently decided to send me a lifetime supply. Like, I don't know what to do with all of these. I mean, I am a child. Maybe this can be in my video today. Oh, what's going on today? Well, today in the video, we have the corporate Darwin Awards. You know, I came up with this idea. Anytime we do a Darwin Awards video on top 10s, it does really well. Like, I think we did one, which is basically, I really want to rest my hands on that, but it's not going to go well. Which is basically where someone takes themselves out of the gene pool, whether by killing themselves or by removing their, through like some act of stupidity, and they always do well. So we're like on Darwin Awards part 16. This is the corporate Darwin Awards. You can see where I got this idea from, because I'm super, super lazy. If you're wondering what the going on and why you've stumbled, god damn it, why you've stumbled across this random YouTube channel with a British man with American things yelling at you, this is the Business Blaze. I read a script Danny sent us. Sam had some memes. It's a thing. Let's jump in. It's quite disheartening when I try to look at all the awards I've won in a lifetime of blood, sweat, and wretched sobbing. The only example that springs to mind is the cycling proficiency certificate I picked up in about 1986. I didn't even know that was a thing. This was an old UK scheme, which had been running in schools since the 1940s and was designed to get youngsters trained up to pedal with confidence on the roads of Britain. I could have done with this. I once got pulled over by the police on my bike. I used to live in London. I'd just bike everywhere because it was too cheap to pay the pound for the bus. And I just didn't give a fuck. I'll just be riding along, and then I get pulled over by the police, and they're like, you know you went through 2 red lights, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, don't do it again. To be honest, everyone passed it though. You only really had to prove that you were capable of getting on the bike and riding it for about 30 seconds without getting mowed down by a bus. My mate Barry failed it. Well, then not everyone passes it, do they, Danny? God damn it. We've talked about you contradicting yourself. It's weak! But I think he may have been the only kid to do so in the entire 70-year history of the scheme, and I'm sure it was only because he was giving the instructor some lip. But one award I wouldn't particularly want to win is a Darwin Award, largely because you usually have to be dead in order to qualify for the prestigious prize or lose your ability to procreate. First launched on Usenet groups in 1985 and growing in popularity over the years with a dedicated website and a series of best-selling books, the Darwin Awards are given out each year to selfless individuals who make an exceptional contribution to human evolution by removing themselves from the human gene pool via a means of utterly ridiculous death. Recent winners have included a thirsty university professor who couldn't be asked to pop next door to the drinks machine and ended up downing a lethal beaker of methanol instead. Holy shit, dude, you're a professor. Get it together. An angry motorcyclist who took part in a helmet-free rally to protect his freedom not to wear a helmet and ended up getting thrown over the bike's handlebars and smashing his exposed head to bits. You idiot. I think we covered this guy in a previous top 10s video. Also, I went to America. I can't remember where I was. It was somewhere in the north. And there were people riding motorcycles without helmets on. Okay, I mean, do what you want. I don't give a shit. You're already killing yourself. But, I mean, I'm like, you're pretty dumb, right? And a psychic from Thailand who claimed to his followers that he was immortal and publicly stabbed himself in the chest to prove that he couldn't die. He died. In fairness, he was a fraudster and was meant to be using a fake sword, but it's always a good idea to check your equipment thoroughly before you use it. And while I'm yet to win a major award that I can place with pride on the wonky shelf in the basement, I can at least play a part in the presentation of the Business Blaze equivalent of the Darwin Awards. Yes, you can, Danny. And Danny, we haven't got it yet, but YouTube, when you get to 100,000 subscribers, they send you this beautiful silver plaque. So you've been a part of that, Danny. Thank you. I think I can actually get an extra one made, if you'd like one. In the Corporate Darwin Awards, we take a look at the brave sacrifices made by those honourable heroes of the corporate world who helped to shape the future by completely destroying their own businesses or products in just one mind-bogglingly reckless move. And Danny is back at it. using the same size headings for subtitles, which is always confusing. Ayds Slimming Candy. Did you really call it Ayds Slimming Candy? I mean, it's spelled A-Y-D-S, but I mean, there's also something else called Ayds. It's like, hey, you want some Ayds chocolate? No. I think we should start off by making it very clear that the manufacturers of this slimming candy faced an unfortunate problem in the 1980s, which was not even remotely their fault. It's the manner in which they chose to deal with this new problem that led to the swift disappearance of the product after over 50 years on the shelves. Maybe we should be amazed that a chocolate product which claimed to help you lose up to 10 pounds in 5 days without dieting or exercise managed to last so long anyway. Yeah, I mean, it sounds clearly fake. I mean, unless it's got like tapeworms or something there, which is a thing. People eat tapeworms to lose weight. And I'm like, just stop eating. Oh, hashtag cancel Simon. Originally launched in 1937 by the Carlay Company of Chicago, the US Federal Trade Commission was making objections to the company's marketing claims as early as the 1940s, but the candy would still live on to allegedly fight the flab through the next 4 decades. Allegedly. It didn't. Allegedly. The appetite suppressant product went through several minor name changes during its long shelf life, originally going under the banner of Ayds Reducing Plan Vitamin and Mineral Candy, oh my god, which was later just shortened to Ayds Reducing Plain Candy. They also got in trouble because people who had AIDS were like, it didn't reduce my AIDS at all. I had full-blown AIDS. By the time we hit the early 1980s, the product was more commonly known simply as Ayds, and was I gotta stop, and was selling better than ever, thanks largely to a new series of persuasive TV commercials generating a presence around the world.
Candy, and I'm not gaining weight. I'm losing weight deliciously with the aid of Ayds.
Unfortunately, the sound-alike AIDS disease was also set to generate an unwelcome presence around the world very shortly afterward, with a global pandemic in full swing by the mid-1980s. Oh no, I just drew a corollary to current day with Corona beer and the coronavirus. Yeah, so this isn't going to go well. I don't know how it's going to go for Corona beer, but I mean, look, allegedly if Corona beer went away, it's not going to be the world's biggest losses. I mean, Vin Diesel's going to be upset in those Fast and Furious movies, but that's it. And those TV commercials from just a few years earlier now didn't seem right at all. One of the most widely known symptoms of the AIDS virus was immense weight loss. So now it seems odd to look back at a series of jolly and uplifting commercials which were making such bold claims as, oh, this is going to be good. With AIDS, I ate less, so the weight came off. Ayds helped me get back into a size 12. Why take diet pills when you can enjoy Ayds?
Lose weight deliciously with the aid of Ayds.
Thank goodness for Ayds. This sounds like the stuff that I would cut and put at the beginning of this video when I say something absurd, but it was actually a commercial in the 1980s. Sales of the super slimming candy rapidly fell by half following the emergence of the disease, and something clearly had to be done. Just change the name. Just change the name. It's not that hard. Robert Burglass was the chairman of the Depp Corporation, who by now had acquired rights to the product, and he decided that a rebranding was in order. Well done, Robert. Where did you get your MBA? You genius. Apparently, he was keen to soften the name without completely losing the brand identification. I'm sorry, Robert, but now your brand identification is with a terrible, deadly disease. So after much thought and consideration, they eventually came up with Diet Ayds. What? I mean, just no. If you change the name, it's not that bad. In a way, that's even worse. Surely when your product name has become associated with a terrifying virus which is infecting tens of thousands of people around the world, you don't just modify the name a bit, you completely change it. I mean, yes, I fully agree. Also, I mean, if there was a candy called like Ebola, and then it was like the Ebola disease comes along, let's say it hadn't been heard of before, and Mars were like, yeah, it's Diet Ebola, or Ebola Light, it's still called Ebola. Shut the f*** up! It's no surprise that the cunning rebranding failed to catch on, and the Ayds candy had completely disappeared from sight before the decade was out. The Depp Corporation clearly dropped the ball with this rebranding, but maybe it was unfair of the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention to name the new disease after a product that had been minding its own business for decades. If COVID-19 had been named the Pepsi Challenge disease by the National Health Organization in 2020, I bet somebody would have kicked up a stink. Ba-da-bum-bum. The Osborne Computer Corporation. I'm seriously wondering what I'm going to do with all of these cups. If anyone has ideas, for what to do with all of these cups, please let me know. Sticking with the 1980s for a while, but moving away from human immunodeficiency virus infections and acquired immune deficiency syndromes. Big words there. The tale of the Osborne Computer Corporation has become so rooted in business legends. Remember, you're a legend to watch the end of the video. That a social phenomenon was named after the company. Hailing from Silicon Valley, the pioneering two-man operation was responsible for the world's first mass-produced portable computer in 1981. The original price tag of the Osborne one was £1,795, which is expensive anyway, and this is 1981 money? That's gonna be like $5,000? $7 grand is my guess, which may seem a bit pricey by modern standards, but that's over $5,000. God, I'm a wizard. Money in today's money for a bit of bulky kit that could run a few basic word processor and spreadsheet programs, but probably couldn't run a half-decent version of Centipede. What the Centipede? But back in those days, it was seen as quite a competitive price for a space-age machine, which was small enough to fit under an aeroplane seat. Within the first year of launch, the new company had made its first $1 million, and over the next couple of years, the Osborne one was shifting around 10,000 units a month. The small two-man operation grew in size so quickly that when one of the executives returned from a week's vacation, he spent hours searching the expanded offices for anybody he vaguely recognized. Is that actually? That can't be true. I mean, I know these companies grow quickly, but it's not like you come back and it's like, wow, we have 100 employees and I can't find a single person I know after like 2 weeks. If you've done that as a company, it feels like you're doing the WeWork thing, expanding too quickly. It doesn't end well, usually. Sometimes. Maybe it does. What do I know? I'm just me. And Sam and Danny and Brian the Meanham accountant. And now, all of these solo cups. But the founder of the company, Adam Osborne, was about to make a disastrous slip-up in 1983 when he started getting a bit too giddy about the next planned machine and started showing it off far too early. He offered specialist magazines a sneak peek of the new Osborne executive behind locked hotel room doors on the condition that they wouldn't mention anything in print until the following year. As far as I can tell, the journalists kept their word on that front and nothing appeared in the press about this fabulous next-generation version of the portable Osborne computer. But word still somehow got out to dealers. Yeah, because they can't print it, but they can tell someone else about it, and that person maybe will leak it even further, and this is why you don't tell people your secrets. You've got to bury them deep down inside. And the unfortunate effect was that everybody suddenly cancelled any outstanding orders for the Osborne 1 because they'd heard that a much better machine was on the way. Oh dear. The problem was that the company now only had massive stockpiles of the original machine, which they couldn't shift even at a drastically slashed price because everyone was waiting for the machine that wouldn't be ready for months and months. Oh no, this is I don't know if this isn't Darwin Award territory so far, because it's like, this seems like a fairly legitimate mistake, like something you wouldn't think of. Like, I feel like I could make that mistake. With the Ayds candy, just renaming it Diet Ayds, I'd be, what the fuck are you thinking? But with this, I could see myself making that mistake. But I'm an idiot, so... By the time the Osborne executive was ready to go, it could only be produced in very limited numbers before the Osborne Computer Company went bankrupt. And although the company did briefly resurface a year later with a new chunkier model called the Osborne Vixen, which wasn't exactly portable but could best be described as luggable, it wasn't long before they went bankrupt again and disappeared from the scene forever. It's sometimes, I have to say, like, bankruptcy is an interesting thing. Like, I used to think that if a company went bankrupt, well, that's it, no more Kodak. But it's like companies go bankrupt all the time, and then it's like, they're still around. Like, Hertz went bankrupt, right? And then I'm just going to say allegedly, but I'm not really sure. I believe Hertz went bankrupt, the car rental company. But then their stock was like up 120%, and I'm like, how? You're bankrupt. I don't get it. I don't understand business. What am I doing hosting a channel about business? Why are you watching this channel? I don't know. It's sometimes argued that there are other factors at play in the downfall of this pioneering company, such as their competitor K-Pro cutting their market share with cheaper models of the portable computer. K-Pro sounds like a discount supermarket. But the early unveiling of a machine which was far from ready to go certainly played a huge part in the rapid decline. And the Osborne effect is now a widely recognized term for a situation where a product becomes obsolete far earlier than intended because of the premature announcement of its successor. Okay, so it seems like this was the first guy to really make this mistake super obviously, and now it's something that is taught, presumably at business school, and so people don't make it again. I don't know if this is Darwin Award worthy, because it's not a stupid mistake, it's just a mistake. But not everyone learned this lesson. Sega pulled a similar trick. Oh, okay. So now we're going to get to a company that knew about this and then fucked up anyway. Sega pulled a similar trick during the 1990s when, within just a couple of years of releasing the Sega Saturn console, they started publicly discussing plans for their next console. This would eventually become known as the Dreamcast, but the release date was still a couple of years away. I don't really remember the Sega Saturn, but I do remember Dreamcast. Despite being held as one of the greatest consoles ever made by the disappointingly low number of people who bought it, the Sega Saturn is now a largely forgotten flop which fell off the radar way before its time. Well, that is why I don't know about it, Sega. Yeah, you get the Darwin Award because you knew about the Osborne effect. I bet someone at Sega went to business school, and you made the mistake anyway. You idiots. Oh, by the way, I've got a much better video about corporate Darwin Awards coming out next week. So there's actually no need to watch this one. You can click off right now and get all of this just better next week. Park City Mountain Resort. Just a very quick word on why it's always a good idea to keep your paperwork in order and keep plenty of sticky notes to hand to remind yourself of the important stuff that you need to do today. Up until the year 2014, the Park City Mountain Ski Resort in Utah was under the ownership of the Powder Corporation, one of the biggest ski resort operators in North America. For a couple of prosperous decades, the company had been pulling in a fortune from the popular attraction, helped along by a sweetheart lease with the owners of the land. The lease wasn't just unusually favorable to the tenant, it was possibly one of the biggest value leases in history. While the Powder Corporation was pulling in millions of dollars every year from the ski resort, they were only paying about $150,000 a year to lease the 3,300 acres of lucrative land. Oh my god, how? The lease had originally been packaged with a rollover option, so the Powder Corporation could renew the lease every 20 years on exactly the same deal. Whoever set up that original contract? It's like, what is going on? Like, you understand that the value of money gets lesser over time, right? This had already happened once before, which is why the deal seemed such amazingly high value 4 decades on. No shit. What could possibly go wrong for the Powder Corporation? They're just going to forget. They're not going to re-sign this lease and it's going to be a disaster. I have this on I own a garage, like where you park your car. And the land is technically owned by the city, but it has this lease. And it's really dumb. I think I pay, it's like the equivalent of maybe $100 a year to lease the land that the building stands on. And every year I just have to renew it. And it's like this, it just perpetually rolls over. So as long as I renew it, I keep paying that same amount. And it's so small because it was created, I don't know, decades ago, whenever they built the garage. So I understand this, but you know what I don't forget to do? Renew my f***ing lease. Well, they could forget to renew the lease and then get served a notice of eviction, and that's exactly what happened. Can you imagine the guys who own all that land? They're like, shut the f*** up. Please say they forget. It's been like the lease, they're supposed to sign the lease tomorrow, and they've made no overtures to us about signing the lease. Don't get excited, boys, but I think it's not going to renew. And they're like, and then it doesn't renew, midnight rolls over, and they're just like popping bottles. By this point, Talisker Land Holdings had acquired the land from the original owners, and of course they were in no rush to remind the tenants of the need to renew the lease, and were under no legal obligation to do so. They knew good and well that if the original lease was allowed to expire, they could start renegotiating something approaching a sensibly modern figure for the use of it. The Powder Corporation did actually submit the lease renewal, but 2 days too late, and started getting a bit grumpy when Talisker suddenly started asking for shitloads more money. It's like, oh, Powder, you made the mistake. You got 20 years of this glorious stuff. You got a 20-year lease. If you don't renew it, that's on you. And during protracted legal wrangling, the rival operator, Vail Resorts, discreetly sneaked in through the back door and snapped up a new lease with Talisker. You're the real winners here, Vail Resorts. Good for you. It wasn't a total disaster for the Powder Corporation, who were eventually forced into reluctantly selling their resort facilities to Vail for a sizable sum, who is still growing strong today. Yeah, I mean, it didn't go brilliantly though, did it? You had to sell your super profitable business, which you obviously didn't want to do, or you wouldn't have gone through all the legal wrangling. But one very careless mistake cost them one of the greatest sweetheart leases of all time. And it's reported that it only happened because they'd fired the woman responsible for renewing the lease just 5 months earlier, and her two-finger response to being fired was to not remind them that the lease was due to renewal.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Oh, that was amazing. That woman must be like, oh, the satisfaction. So that appears to be the point where everything went a bit downhill. If I were that woman, I don't know, how can you make money out of that? You could say, you could remind them and be like, hey, you know, I could use a new car. Or you could be like, guys, I have some information that not through blackmail, not through anything like that, is going to cost you millions of dollars if I don't tell you what it is. If you give me $100,000, I'll tell you what it is. And they'll be like, and if it doesn't work out, you don't have to give me the $100,000, we'll hold it in escrow with a lawyer. And yeah, I think you could have legally made some money right there. Murdoch Space. Oh, Rupert Murdoch. You're a bit of a tool. If you don't know who Rupert Murdoch is, he's the guy who owns Sky. He's a... no one likes Rupert Murdoch. Maybe this one is cheating a little bit, as there were probably a whole multitude of reasons why Myspace got trampled into the ground by Facebook, and it probably didn't do much to damage the News Corp in the long term. But it's always nice to hear a story about Rupert Murdoch, there's a fly on my paper, cocking up something really badly. Yeah, it is. It's like Michael O'Leary cocked something up. It's like, Rupert Murdoch cocked something up. Donald. We talked about Myspace in a recent Business Blaze episode on strange celebrity business ventures, which covered how Justin Timberlake briefly became the co-owner of the completely dead platform. I don't know. I went on there and there was music news, so to say it's completely dead, Danny, seems entirely unfair. I'd say Myspace is absolutely thriving, like Justin Timberlake's movie career. But how did News Corp find themselves flogging it so cheaply to Timberlake when they'd originally paid Myspace founder Tom Anderson $580 million for his platform in 2005? It's worth pointing out that things had looked quite promising for a while after News Corp acquired Myspace. As late as 2008, Myspace was still very much the leader of the social media pack, having managed to pull in 100 million users. Oh, Tom, you sold it at the absolute right point. You legend. We've talked about how Tom Anderson is a legend before on this show, and we'll just repeat it. Absolute legend. The only people who are more legendary are the people who watched the end of the Business Blaze episode. But then the fall to Facebook seemed to happen remarkably quickly. By the end of that same year, there appears to have been a global migration to Zuckerberg's shiny new platform. I don't remember it being shiny, I do remember it being blue, like really, really blue. And within the space of just a few more years, Myspace had lost over 40 million visitors, laid off most of its staff, and was pretty much considered dead and buried. Of course, one reason why we all jumped ship to Facebook is because it was blue, and we can see all of blue. If you're getting that joke, you are an absolute OG Business Blaze legend.
I don't get it.
There are several other reasons why Facebook's superior and smarter design helped persuade internet users that Myspace was now just yesterday's platform that only your granddaddy still used. But possibly one of the biggest reasons for the downfall of I feel like Facebook, though, is now used mostly by people of my parents' generation. Like, I don't use Facebook. I don't think my friends really use Facebook. We use WhatsApp to message each other now. We used to use Facebook Messenger, but I don't know. I just don't really feel like people use that anymore. But I guess they do. I mean, it's still the biggest. But possibly one of the biggest reasons for the downfall of Myspace is that Rupert Murdoch was determined to put aggressive ad revenue over user experience, much like me with Business Blaze, which is why there are just... I'll just cram in as many adverts as I can. This video is not sponsored by now, but that would be an amazing place for an ad read. News Corp was paid $900 million by Google to plaster ad content all over Myspace, which was a nice payday for Rupert Murdoch, but it meant that a platform already saturated with advertising was now about to get unbearable. Wait, he paid like $580 million for it, and he got paid $900 million by Google. Sounds like Rupert Murdoch did pretty okay from this deal. And also, Google made a mistake. They should have just bought it and put their ads on it, cut out Rupert Murdoch as the middleman. Why give Rupert Murdoch hundreds of millions of dollars? No one wants to do that. It became impossible to perform the simplest function on Myspace without getting bombarded by slow-loading spammy ads which encouraged you to spin a roulette wheel and win a free goldfish. I vaguely remember that. I think there was something about that, but I mean, I don't know. Who cares? Who gives a I'm so pleased that ads are now not a piece of I mean, most of the internet is just retargeted ads for things that I'm actually considering buying, so I don't actually mind it anymore. It got a lot better. Although, good lord, if I see another... Before I got YouTube Premium, there were so many ads, like, subscribe to Masterclass, I'm going to show you how to cook a brisket. Hi, I'm going to teach you how to cook a brisket. I saw that brisket ad oh my god, so many times. I don't want to. I like brisket. I don't even want to think about it now, though. And I'm sure you're probably about to see an advert for Raid Shadow Legends, who emailed me this morning asking if I would like sponsorship. Again. It's arguable whether Murdoch or News Corp really failed at all financially, as the Google advertising deal clearly more than covered the original purchase of Myspace. If anyone lost out of this, it's probably Google, who wouldn't have seen much return on their massive investment on the platform, which quickly went the way of the pear. What happened to pears? I like pears. It went pear-shaped? I don't understand. I mean, often I do, and then people will point out in the comments how dumb I am for not getting a really simple joke. But News Corp certainly missed a trick here. If they'd perhaps just taken a little more inspiration for what Facebook were doing, the platform may never have lost so much ground so incredibly quickly. Incidentally, you may think that the original MySpace founder Tom Anderson did pretty well out of that $580 million deal with News Corp in 2005, and of course he did. But he may have missed a trick too. According to Wall Street Journal editor Julia Angwin, Tom met with Mark Zuckerberg in the fall of 2005 and was offered the chance to buy Facebook for $75 million, but he turned down the chance to buy the $646 billion platform. Is Facebook really worth $646 billion? Oh my god, what am I doing with my life? And patiently waited for Rupert Murdoch to come along and smash his own platform to bits. Yeah, but also, if he had bought Facebook, it wouldn't be Facebook, it would still be like MySpace, and no one likes MySpace. And look, Tom did okay. He got $580 million out of it. Dodgy peanuts. Finally, there can only be one gold medal winner in the Corporate Darwin Awards. Oh, Danny, you've done yourself a trouble, because if this video does really well, there's definitely going to be Corporate Darwin Awards Part 2, Part 3, Part 19. You're fucked. But the tragic truth behind the Peanut Corporation of America is that it took several completely innocent people down with it. Originally founded in 1977 by Hugh Parnell in Gorman, Texas, the peanut processing business was originally a very small family affair. By the year 2000, under the control of Hugh's son, Stuart Parnell, the company was operating 5 major processing plants spread across the states like crunchy butter, and pulling in about $25 million a year from selling peanut butter-based to poor people. Oh my god, I love peanut butter. Why do you have to sell it to just poor people? Rich people eat peanut butter too, I think. You see, this was never really a very classy outfit. The cheap processed peanuts were largely sold to the institutional food market and were destined to end up being consumed in prisons, nursing homes, and rough schools. Okay, I understand. Yeah, that's how. It's not just, I'm sure there's like fancy peanut butter. Oh my god. Marks and Spencer's do a cashew nut peanut butter, which is amazing. It's super expensive, but it's so good. That's fancy peanut butter. Some of the produce was also sold to school manufacturers for use in low-end markets such as cheap biscuits, ice cream, and dog food. No way! So 4-legged hairy youngsters with a sweet tooth and criminal record were wolfing down these nuts like there was no tomorrow. For some of them, there wouldn't be. Also, oh my god, are people gonna die? Also, peanuts. I mean, I go to the store and I see peanuts. I don't buy expensive peanuts. They're peanuts. I buy the cheap ones because they're the same. Or maybe I'm gonna die. The company had a long history of questionable sanitation and hygiene standards dating back to the 1980s. I mean, I'm not buying them from like dodgy homeless person on the street. I'm buying them from like Tesco. I'm just gonna buy the Tesco value ones rather than the finest ones. During private inspections by potential business partners, some of the filthy processing plants were found to have mold growing on the walls, leaky roofs, mouse droppings on the floor, dead insects near the peanuts, and birds happily flapping in and out of the building. I'm slightly concerned why they were seen by potential business partners and not by, I don't know, the FDA. But nobody seemed to mind that much, maybe because they were only peanuts for convicted murderers, working class dogs, and kids who had no say in the matter. The rat shit only hit the fan in 2008 when it was discovered that the company's peanut produce was the source of a massive outbreak of salmonella in the United States. This was recent. This is surprisingly recent. 9 people are known to have died from the contamination. Oh my god. For real? For real. Along with a further 714 reported cases of food poisoning, at least half of which were children. Danny, this is sad. The previous ones were like amusing. Haha, people lose money. Oh man. But this one's like, yeah, people lose money. Children died. That's probably only a very conservative estimate, as roughly only 1 in every 38 cases of salmonella gets reported. Oh, and at least 1 dog died too. Which, for the Business Plays audience, they're going to be more upset about that. You guys, you're going to be more upset about that than the children dying, because you're dumb. I don't mean that. Hashtag cancel Simon, although some of you are probably statistically dumb. The most horrifying part about all of this, Stuart Parnell, the owner of the company, knew about the contamination and insisted that the peanut products were shipped anyway. Oh, that was an error. You're going to prison. I don't feel it's a good Business Plays until someone goes to jail. When faced with the dilemma of what to do with these infected peanuts, his own 4-word response in an email in court was, "Let's turn them loose." Oh, dude, no. You wrote that in an email to... I mean, this is bad enough, but then you're like, yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? Write down some evidence. Even after tests had confirmed that salmonella had been found in the company's products, Parnell was sending emails to employees claiming that the peanuts were completely safe to ship, and privately complaining that tests which showed evidence of contamination were costing the company big bucks. Dude, the testing is too expensive for you. You're a horrible person, allegedly. He even wrote to federal regulators to ask for official permission to continue using peanuts from infected plants, as he desperately needed to turn the raw peanuts on our floor into money. No, what's going on? You write to the regulator to be like, hey, I've got all these peanuts that are poisonous. Can I send them out? They're gonna knock on your door, bro. Naturally, the Peanut Corporation of America didn't come out of this very well. It led to the biggest food recall in US history, stretching across 46 states and involving the recall of nearly 4,000 different products. The company quickly went bankrupt, good-o, but it also had a devastating effect on the entire peanut industry as consumers completely lost confidence in the product. It's estimated that the industry lost over $1 billion in the aftermath of the outbreak. Oh, Stuart Parnell, you cockwomble. But what became of Stuart Parnell? Well, in a nutshell, he was ultimately found guilty of 71 criminal counts of conspiracy, fraud, and several other federal charges in 2015, and I saw it already, I can't even guess. He went to prison, he's gone to prison for 28 years. Oh, that was an error, son. It's perhaps quite sad in a way that he won't be getting served his own peanut produce during his lengthy stay in the slammer, but at least he'll get some valuable feedback and maybe even a good roasting from the veteran prisoners who had to put up with his cheap crap for years. This has been Business Blaze, brought to you by all of these solo pups, which I now have to pick up. I make decisions that I regret. If you enjoyed this video, please do smash that like button below. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time, you legend.
The plan lets you enjoy 2 Ayds before each meal. Delicious chocolate flavor. And I love being a size 10 again.
Although some of you are probably statistically dumb.